Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Thursday edition of NMH at 1. I am your host, Priska Agnolo, and thank you so much for joining us. On Thursdays, NMH at 1 in our COVID-19 slot looks at quarantine data for the different regions in Namibia. By Tuesday, more than 2,000 individuals were in quarantine. An increase is currently experienced, and it seems this is largely driven by increasing cases reported at schools, especially in the Oshikoto region. Over the 6 days up to Sunday, 1,258 people entered official quarantine facilities and 536 were discharged. Tuesday's details for the regions is not available yet. More than 1,300 quarantinees were housed in the Oshikoto region, making up more than 60% of the national total. More than 1,000 entries were recorded and less than 200 exits. In the Irongo region, 225 persons spent their 6th day in quarantine by Monday, while the 123 individuals in the Karas region were already in isolation for 13 days. Some of these people may already have been discharged over the last 2 days. In our first video insert for the day, the National Union of Namibian Workers staged a demonstration in Keetmanshoop yesterday, where members of different workers' unions across the region came together to hand over a petition to Karas Region Governor Aletta Fredericks, which was accepted by Keetmanshoop Mayor Marie Smitten. Although the protesters didn't show up in great numbers, they said that their voices need to be heard. Elizabeth Joseph submitted this clip.
Now therefore, NUNW strives for and is upholding the spirit of solidarity amongst all workers both in Namibia and globally. NUNW is committed to work for the restructuring of the Namibian economy that will allow the democratic control of production and the fair sharing of fruits of labor amongst the working people. NUNW is ever ready to comment on, advance or oppose any law, action or policy, any authority or institution negatively affecting the interests of the working class or any of the Federation's affiliates. We, the Namibian workers, under the banner of NUNW, are hereby submitting this petition to express and demonstrate our downright surprise by the oversight cabinet decision to liquidate Air Namibia.
Dear NUNW members of the media, as Mayor of Keetmanshoop, I received this petition on behalf of the Governor of the Karas region, Namibia. Thank you very much.
Hambukushu Traditional Authority Chief Irvin Monica Mbambo feels the issue of the so-called red line is dragging on for too long. Agriculture, Water and Land Reform Minister Carla Schletwein, however, warned that removal thereof will have dire consequences. Kenya Kamboe was in Rundi yesterday, while Schletwein visits the Kavango East region to assess the impact of the outbreak of the foot and mouth disease there.
Those who established the red line, what criteria did they use during those times, or during that time? Were there consultation with both the traditional authority here in the communal area and in urban areas? If there was no consultation, why this issue should take long? If it was set up there just because to satisfy masters, I don't see this issue of a red line. It's important to me. It's not important.
It is an option. We can do it. I will not advise that that is the best option. And I can tell you why it is not an option. The livestock production, both in the north and in the south of the country, is primarily hinged, or its ability is primarily hinged on the animal health status that we have. And then we go on to the next step. We must maintain this animal health state because we Namibians cannot consume all the meat that we are producing. We are sitting on a massive surplus. We can only eat about 30% of what we produce. 70% of our production, therefore, either goes to waste or it must be exported. And we can only export it if we maintain the disease status that we have. With Uganda, if we can talk in terms of figures, I think the export value of our beef is in the order of 2 billion. That's only to the EU. If we add the export to SADC, to Africa, it will grow. So if we are prepared to forfeit that income, yeah, that's it. But it's a consequence that we have to live with. Uganda, FNB is one of 5 state-controlled diseases that we have.
And for our third video insert, Yolanda Nell chats to traveler Hannah Begner. Originally from Germany, she is currently volunteering at Erica's Daycare Center in the Koreagap informal settlement. Do take a look.
Good day, I am Yolanda Nell and today I'm joined with Hannah. Hannah, welcome.
Welcome.
Quickly tell us, Hannah, you're here from Germany. Why did you decide to come to Namibia?
Okay, it's kind of a longer story. I already lived in South Africa for 2 years, and my mom, she also worked at like an orphanage. So last year I finished my A levels, and I knew like I didn't want to go study right away. I wanted to do something, travel, and then it was kind of like I saw a TV show about Lena and Wadadi, and I thought that's a really amazing work she's doing, and so I thought, okay, why should not go down as a volunteer for a few months?
Great, and how has your time here in Namibia been, and especially with Erika at her kindergarten?
I mean, it's been amazing. I've only been here for 1.5 weeks, but I mean, the other girls at the house, we're all living at one house. It's really nice because everybody tells about their own project, and especially, I mean, I've been working here for 1 week, and it's been really nice. Everybody is so nice and friendly and open-minded. And yeah, especially like working with the kids, it's something I've never like done before, but it's been really interesting.
And for how long are you planning to stay with Erika and planning to stay in the country?
In the country, so I'm on a tourist visa now, so 3 months, but I already see myself like extending 1 or 2 months more. And I mean, I'm not quite sure, but I think I'm staying at Erika's the whole time.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoy Namibia, and I hope you get to travel inside the country a little as well.
Yeah, thank you. We will. We are going to Sossusvlei in a few, I think, not this weekend, but the next one. And we're also planning like a 2-week trip, so some of the volunteers can also see some of the country, and I'm very excited for that.
I hope you enjoy it, and especially after the rains, I think you're in for a real treat.
We're really looking forward to it. Thank you.
And that's all we have for today. Bye.
And now we move on to the front pages of our dailies. Namibian Sun reports that Cabinet is not retreating on its decision to liquidate Air Namibia, a position lucidly explained to the SWAPO Party Youth League executive on Tuesday night by Prime Minister Sarako Kongelwa Madila. Government is also unfazed by nationwide demonstrations led by the SWAPO-affiliated National Union of Namibian Workers, which made a symbolic stop at the party headquarters in Katutura yesterday. Republican reports that a total of 31 teachers were charged with sexual offenses against pupils from January 2016 to the 16th of February this year. According to the Executive Director of Education, Arts and Culture, Sanet Steenkamp, 29 of these teachers are male and 2 are female. Republican inquired with Steenkamp about how many teachers were charged with sexual offenses after last week's court appearance of a teacher from the Yanmoor Secondary School, Nathaniel Kamatuka, who is 53 years old. He is accused of raping 2 pupils at this Windhoek school. Kamatuka resigned before he was arrested. He's not the only teacher who resigned before the investigations into sexual offenses were completed. Steenkamp said on Tuesday that 14 teachers resigned during the investigations and disciplinary hearings. It will then be indicated on file that such a teacher resigned during his or her disciplinary hearing. If the teacher wants to come back, then his or her file must first be studied, Steenkamp explained. Algemeine Zeitung reported about the Namibia Transport and Allied Workers Union and the National Union of Namibian Workers demonstration held yesterday against the dissolution of the national airline in Namibia. The meeting point was the NUNW head office in Katutura. The protesters then marched to SWAPO headquarters, where they waited for almost 2 hours for Party General Secretary Sophia Shaningwa to hand over a petition. Dapewa Amupanda, the Federation Chairperson of Natal, clarified that no national airline in the world is profitable. She said most airlines are forced to continue to exist. At least they should be able to break even, but they are not there to make a profit, she said. And she's also convinced that the state had enough money to bail out the airline after all. Protests were also held in Ashwarongo by the NUNW. Meanwhile, the first session of the National Assembly in the new year on Tuesday turned into an impromptu debate on the liquidation of Air Namibia. Right at the outset, some opposition MPs had many questions for the executive about last week's cabinet decision in this regard. McHenry Venani, president of the PDM party and leader of the opposition, moved the motion to hold a debate on Air Namibia. Speaker of Parliament Peter Kashavivi allowed this. The Namibian reports that Public Enterprises Minister Leon Schuster yesterday said he has no intention to resigning from his position. He said this amid countrywide protests staged yesterday by various unions and organizations calling for his resignation and the restructuring of the Air Namibia instead of its voluntary liquidation. Local unions protested in solidarity with the 636 Air Namibia workers and gave the government a week and a half to respond to their demands before taking further action. New Era reports that the Cabinet's decision to voluntarily liquidate Air Namibia has led to massive nationwide demonstrations, with at least 2 union umbrella bodies staging protest marches. The nationwide demonstration was organized by the National Union of Namibian Workers, while the Trade Union of Congress of Namibia also joined the fray with the demonstration in Windhoek. Demonstrators under the NUNW banner first marched to the SWAPO headquarters to deliver a petition to the party Secretary General Sophia Shaningwa. The group also demanded the removal of Public Enterprises Minister Leon Schuster. And moving on to the inside pages of the country's dailies. Namibian Sun reports that the Labour Ministry instituted disciplinary action against its Deputy Labour Commissioner Tuliki Mwafufia Shikongo, who is due to retire in April. Namibian Sun understands the hearing is set to take place from the 23rd to the 25th of February. In a statement issued by the ministry's executive director, Bro Matthew Shingwaja, confirmed that Mwafufia Shikongo has been summoned for disciplinary hearing. However, staff-related matters, particularly disciplinary issues, do remain strictly internal and cannot be further divulged, he said. Mafufya Shikongo yesterday declined to comment on the matter, asking why there is an interest in her affairs. Republican reports that water from the Kavango River desalination plants on the coast or via connections with southern dams, such as the Nekatel, Naute and Hardap dams, are the three options that will be considered to provide Windhoek with more water. The Minister of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, Carla Schletwein, said during the opening of the third workshop on a feasibility study for a desalination plant yesterday that these are the options that NamWater and local consultants will consider for Windhoek's water problems. He added that the supply of desalinated seawater to Namibia's coastal areas could no longer be debated, but that the question was rather when it would be implemented. These were some of the remarks he made during the workshop, where ILF consultants are expected to provide feedback over the next few days on findings from the feasibility study, which was launched a few years ago. The feasibility study looked at the possibilities and costs of delivering desalinated seawater to both coastal areas as well as the capital. According to Schletwein, the study also investigated the possibilities of whether such a system with desalinated seawater could extend as far as Gaborone in Botswana, as this city also experiences severe water shortages. ILF consultants are responsible for the study funded by the German Development Bank. The Allgemeine Zeitung reports that a second subsea fiber optic cable will connect Namibia to the world. The Equiano cable is expected to provide Namibian customers with greater bandwidth capacity and more product options, thereby stimulating the economy. Paratus Namibia and Telecom Namibia made the announcement in writing on Tuesday evening after the company signed an unprecedented agreement. The Google company first announced the new Equiano subsea cable in 2019, saying it would be connected to land ends in South Africa and Portugal and would incorporate new technology, making it significantly faster. Equiano, which is named after Nigerian writer and abolitionist Aulaude Equiano, will have more than 20 times the bandwidth capacity than the last cable connected in Africa, it said. The WACS subsea cable, which was connected in Swakopmund exactly 10 years ago, has a capacity of 14.5 terabytes. This increased capacity will ensure uninterrupted internet access for Namibia, it adds. This is in reference to the two submarine cables, SAT-3 and WACS, which were damaged almost simultaneously in early 2020. In many countries in Africa, the internet connection was thus completely down, AZ reported. This has resulted in significant internet outages and adverse impacts on businesses in Namibia and the SADC region, which had no alternative connectivity, it said. The Namibian reports Namibian Institute of Mining and Technology executives Eckhard Mueller and Heimo Helwig were both shot multiple times in the chest and head. This is according to a medical doctor who testified in the double murder trial of a former NIMT employee in the Windhoek High Court yesterday. Testifying on the third day of former NIMT lecturer Ernest Lichtenstrasse's trial, Dr. Augusto Gawab informed Judge Christy Liebenberg that Mueller had 2 gunshot injuries to his head, had been shot 3 times in the chest, and also had gunshots to his upper right arm, right forearm, and a finger on his left hand. New Era reports that a South African-born man who was convicted of raping 2 underage girls and human trafficking charges yesterday told Deputy Judge President Hosea Angula he is sorry for what he has done. Martinez Pretorius was testifying in mitigation of sentencing after he was convicted in November last year. During his conviction ruling, Judge Angula found that Pretorius received the 2 girls in question, then 13 and 14 years old, in his house at Swakopmund for the purpose of sexual exploitation, and as a result, he was guilty of human trafficking in terms of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act. The matter is back in court on the 13th of April 2021. That is it for today. Do have a lovely day ahead and please stay safe as well. And don't forget to stay tuned for the weather.